G'day everyone, Matt here from Mile Marker 66 Barbecue, and today we're going to be doing some pies. One thing I really like about doing pies in the barbecue is it's a really good opportunity to use up leftover meat. Today we're going to be using pulled pork in our pies, but you can use any meat that you like. If you've got any leftover brisket or any other barbecue meat that you think would go great in a pie, then use that. Now there's two essential parts to making a good pie. The first one is making your filling, and the second is assembling your pies. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our pan on, and I'm just going to drop a bit of butter in the bottom there. Okay, so the pan's heating up a bit there, the butter's starting to melt, so I'm just going to get the pork in here. You might need to do this in a couple of batches, depending on how much you're doing. Okay, so you can see that that's starting to heat up and warm through there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a real light coating of flour over it. And what that does is it helps cook off the flour on the meat now, so that when we add the liquid later, the flour doesn't become too clumpy. Now that's all stirred in, we're going to take that off and we'll just put it on a glass bowl. Now that we've got that meat out, what we're going to do is we're going to deglaze the pan here. And the way that we're going to do that is we're just going to put in a cup of red wine. You know, if you prefer, if you're doing a chicken pie or something, you might want to use white wine. I prefer red, I think it's just got a bit of flavour. And we're just going to let that simmer. If you prefer not to have alcohol, you don't drink, or you just don't want to use alcohol, you don't like the taste of the wine, you can use something like cranberry juice or grape juice as an alternative. They're reasonably acidic and they've both got a great flavour punch as well. Okay, so that's just starting to simmer away there, so I'm going to take that off and we'll put that aside in another bowl as well. Okay, right, now that we've done that, the next step, we're just going to get some onions going. So just going to put another knob of butter in there, and I've got one large onion here. Okay, those looking pretty good. We're going to get these off. Okay, so what I've done is I've put the heat deflector back in, or the baffle plate there back in, just so we're off that direct heat source. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add that pork, onions and wine that we cooked before. We're going to put that all in here together. I'm also going to add some tomato paste and mustard, and if you can't remember all these ingredients, don't worry, I will put them all in the description below. And the last thing, I've got 700 mils of chicken stock here. I prefer chicken stock with pork, I just think it tastes a bit nicer, but if you're doing something like a brisket pie, then you might want to use beef stock. And we're going to give that a good mix up. Right, we've reduced the heat of this barbecue now. We've taken it off the direct heat. We're going to shut the lid. We're going to let it sit in here and reduce for a little bit. Been on for 25 minutes, we're pretty close to it, so we'll have a quick nosy and we'll see how it's looking. Yeah, that's looking really nice. Smells delicious. We're going to go ahead and get that off now. That's our filling done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to transfer it into another bowl, and I'm going to chuck it in the fridge and let it cool down. I find that pastry works a lot better when both the pastry and the filling are chilled when you assemble them. Right, so that filling's been in the fridge for a few hours now. It's cooled right down, so we've got some chilled filling and chilled pastry, so we're going to get in and put our pies together. Right, when I'm making my pies, what I like to use is just a classic muffin tray. I like to use these partly just because they've got a bit more depth in them. You can fit a bit more filling than you might be able to do in a pie maker, and also you can do 6 at a time, which is a bit more than our pie maker can handle. So that's pretty much my reason behind that. You can see this has had a bit of a hard life. She's been in the barbecue a few times, so this is my barbecue pie tray. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just get a bit of the classic oven spray, and just start with a couple there, give it a good spray. And for pastry, I've already cut these out into the shapes, or sorry, the sizes rather, that I need, but it's just your standard sheets of pastry from the supermarket. You can make your own pastry if you like to, but I just buy them from the supermarket. So I'm just going to push this down, make sure it gets down to the edges. And you just want a little bit of overhang around the side so you can get your lid on. Right, next we'll chuck in a bit of our filling. I do think you want to be a little bit careful, you don't want to overfill them. I know plenty of times I've overfilled pies and had the filling spill out the sides. So I'm probably around 15, somewhere between 15 to 20 mil from the top there I've done. Okay, so the next thing we're going to put in is our cheese. So I'm going to do it a couple of different ways here. I'm going to do one just some classic grated cheddar. You can use any cheese you like, really, whatever your preference is. Put a little bit in the top there. Okay, my second lot of pies, I'm going to use a cheese sauce rather than grated cheese. I haven't done this before actually, so this is going to be a bit of an experiment. But I'm using this tartar cheese sauce. So if you can find this stuff, this is really amazing. It's delicious cheese sauce. Or you can make your own cheese sauce, whatever your preference is. And if you like nachos or anything like that, this sauce is absolutely brilliant for that. And finally, we're going to get our lids on. So what I've done is I've just got a little bit of egg wash here, and I'm just going to give it a little gentle touch just around the edges where the lid's going to crimp onto it. Don't know if that's the right term, but. And finally, our lids. So just sit it on top, gently pinch it in so it's pressed against the base. And I like to go around afterwards just with a fork and just press it in just to make sure it's fully pushed against that base. And it's also just a nice little visual touch. Right, so I've gone around and I've put the little fork marks around the outside just to make it look a little visually nice and help seal the lid to the base. I've also given it a little stab in the top there just for a bit of venting while it's cooking, and I'll just put a third stab in this one here so I know that these are my cheese sauce ones rather than just the grated cheddar. The last thing we're going to do is we're just going to give it another little coating on top of our egg wash, and this is just going to give it a nice golden finish when we cook it. Okay, so we've got our 6 pies made up here. We're going to chuck them on the barbecue. We're going to put them on the acorn here. For those that are interested, we're sitting about 275. So you can see they're looking beautiful and golden brown. All right, let's get these off out of the pans and let them cool down for a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a butter knife, gently wedge them out of the tray here and get them onto this cooling tray here just to let them cool down a little bit. So this could have cooled down a little bit now, and I've picked one of each. So we've got our cheddar here and our cheese sauce one here. We'll slice them open and see how they look. All right, so there's our cheddar one. That looks pretty good. Certainly be all right to eat in the car while you're driving. Nothing's oozing out too much. Let's have a look at the cheese sauce. Look at that. You can just see it spilling out everywhere. So definitely better for the glamour shot. Let's give these a little taste test. Let's start off with the cheddar one. Certainly no complaints there. Very nice. Let's try the cheese sauce. All right, so I think definitely the cheese sauce one tastes a lot better, much better for the glamour shot. The cheddar, a lot more practical to eat. It's not going to spill everywhere, but I couldn't quite taste the cheese as much as I could in the cheese sauce one. Okay, so that's generally how I make pies on the barbecue. Now, like I said earlier on, I use pulled pork in these ones, but if you want to use any other leftover meat that you've got, a brisket pie or anything else, then you can just add that in. And the same with any other ingredient. If you want to put in some jalapenos or anything else, obviously you can do that. The process will still remain the same. Sweet as, so there we go. So I will put the list of ingredients and the process I used in the description below. And if you like our videos, give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. As always, we hope you learned something and enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.